thank all of you guys for taking the opportunity to participate in this. I was actually on the phone a little bit earlier today with Reed Ribble from the Roofing Contractor Association. He's the president of the association, and we were just really kind of talking about how amazing the industry has just responded to this crisis. I mean, we're just hearing all kinds of really amazing stories about, roofers stepping up. It seems like everybody's really engaged to participate in these meetings, and I want to thank you guys for being involved. Also, I want to let you know that as a follow-up to every webinar that we're going to do, we're going to send out a recap to everybody that participated. So any of the things that you see here today, if we direct you to the links, if we talk to you about how to get started with Greensky and stuff like that, there will be links on there that will allow you to kind of get set up on that stuff. And I just don't want you guys to miss out on the content today because you're trying to write down, addresses and things like that. We've gotten a few emails from people asking about video recordings of this. We are going to put out a video recording and an audio recording of these webinars. We're just, I guess at this point, trying to figure out how best to host that stuff to make it a better experience for you guys. And we should be able to start, making that stuff available to you, or at least letting you know how you can get it by the end of this week. So I want to start off and first and foremost and recognize Greensky as our sponsor today. Look, the purpose of this presentation today is to really help you guys better understand how you can leverage the power of financing in your business. I believe, and this is my professional opinion, that financing is probably one of the single most important tools that you guys need to carry in your bag. And I also believe that Greensky is one of the best opportunities out there. So I invited Jay from Greensky, and he's on the call with us now. So Jay, if you wouldn't mind maybe just introducing yourself and telling this group a little bit about Greensky.
Yeah, absolutely, John. And thank you so much for setting this up. Really, really happy to be here today to talk to all of you guys about our program. So my name is Jay Puentes. I am the Senior Manager of Sponsored Programs here at Greensky. I have been working in the home improvement industry for quite some time now. I've worked with some e-commerce related clients as well in the past. And I know, right now, it might be a great time to, if you haven't already really thought about offering financing, it might be a good time to essentially just listen and see if Greensky would be the right fit for you. But what we want to present to you is essentially our program, the program that we've put together with SRS. It is really the easiest, most seamless program in the roofing industry, as we've got a paperless process, which is something that a lot of our contractors are loving right now. There's no need to be in front of a customer to have anything signed. They can do this all at the comfort of their home while you're in the office. We've got essentially almost every single type of loan option that you'll ever want. Zero interest loans, loans with interest, longer term loans, low monthly payment loans, etc. And we can extend up to $65,000 worth of credit. So I know, for you guys, it may not really need to get up that high, but in some instances, some people may have a couple homes that they want to get their roof repaired on or upgraded. So that comes in handy. Stage funding to help you float your costs, so you don't have to float your cost. Essentially, to help you really take a draw, pay for your materials, pay for your labor, and not really have to float the cost of doing these jobs and waiting for a customer to write you a check once you're done. In terms of marketing, we've got a really great marketing program, which John has pointed out on this slide. On the right side, you can see that picture. That's actually a web tool where you can lead your customers directly to your website and have them apply for a loan instantly before you even go out there and take a look at their roof. So they can apply right on your website, get approved for a loan instantly, all within 2 minutes, and given that approval, you can then begin talking about their options. Universal credit applications is a new tool that we've released. Essentially, it's just to give you a brief idea of what that is. We've teamed up with a couple second look players to optimize our approval rates. So now you don't have to worry as much about declines as you would have in the past, because we've teamed up with some of these second look partners to help you guys with approval rates. And pre-qualification, a great tool to have, released in 2019. Pre-qualification allows your customers to pre-qualify for a loan to understand their buying power without impacting their credit whatsoever. That process takes less than a minute, and it's extremely powerful because a lot of these customers may not think that they'd get approved, or some may think that they'd get approved for like $2 or $3 grand, when in reality, they might end up getting approved for 10, 15, 20 grand. So yeah, I think John's going to do a great job today talking about a number of these things, and we'll have a Q&A at the end, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you guys may have.
Yeah, and I would also encourage you guys, if you do have a question, feel free to type those questions into the Zoom tool. Don't type it in the comments section. Type it in the question and answer session, because that's the one that I have open, and I'll be able to see it more readily. And Jay, I do want to correct one thing that Jay said. And Jay, I'm certain that every contractor on this call today would love the opportunity to leverage the full value of that $65,000 credit limit. And just to be clear, guys, what the opportunity that this gives you is now you have the chance when you're at the kitchen table to ask the customer, hey, obviously I'm here today to talk to you about your roofing project. What other items are on your home improvement wish list? And if they start talking about things, well, we'd love to get the siding done. We'd love to get the windows done. We'd love to get, a new deck put on our house. I mean, some of you guys have the resources to subcontract out some of those items. And now rather than you presenting a, $12,000 roof package, now you can propose a, $55,000, home improvement package, which not only helps you guys from a profit and sales perspective, but also provides a tremendous value for your customers. So let's talk a little bit about Greensky or financing in general. And I want you guys to know that my rule is that we need to create a condition where we're offering a Greensky or financing on every project, every proposal, every single time. And what we're going to talk about today is really two things. Number one, why it's critically important that you offer financing. And then two, some of the success strategies that you're going to have to use to really make sure that you're getting the full value out of that and you're profitable. So let's talk about the number one thing, why it's important for you guys to offer financing. And I'm going to tell you that it's important to offer financing because your prospect, they expect you to. There's all kinds of studies out there that suggest that the overwhelming majority of home improvement projects today are financed. And I'll share this one with you. 75% of home improvement projects over $2,000 are financed every year. And many of those are financed with the same as cash payment plan. Now, I'll ask you the question in our little virtual setting here. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that 75% of home improvement projects over $2,000 are financed? And the reason is because nobody has cash anymore. So if you look at bankrates.com, they will tell us that 69% of households have savings accounts balances less than $1,000. 34% of households have nothing saved. Now, for you guys out there who do dabble in the insurance restoration work, think about that as it relates to you asking them to pay the deductible. In many cases, the customer may want to use you as their contractor. You're the guy I trust. But quite frankly, I just don't have the funds to fund the deductible, so maybe it's then worth the risk of me having to hire somebody else who says they're willing to eat it. The ability to offer financing, and we'll talk about this a little bit more when we talk about how to do it, but the ability to offer financing does allow you to give them an option that allows them to earn, work with the best contractor in the industry and make it affordable. Now, when I talk to contractors about this, some guys will stop me and they'll go, well, wait a minute, John, my customers are cash buyers. And they'll cite the fact that the homeowner has a credit card or the homeowner has a home equity loan. And one of the things that I would ask you to please never do is never assume that they're comfortable using their credit card or that they want to use their home equity loan to fund a roofing project. I've used home equity loans to fund home improvement projects, but they're for stuff that I get to play with, like a new kitchen or a new family room or refinishing my basement. A roof on my house, I'd probably rather use my equity to do something else that I'm going to get a little bit more out of. Here's the other mistake that I think a lot of us make is we ask the question going in and we say, hey, do you require any type of financing? And most people, because you've not really established a degree of rapport, they're not even really sure if they want to be completely upfront and honest with you on their situation. Many people are just going to discount that and go, no, I'm all set. Or they're going to know that in the back of their mind, if I really needed to finance this, I could put it on a credit card or I could put it on, go to the bank and get a loan and use my equity or the credit union or whatever it is. The thing that I want you guys to get in your mindset and your strategy is that you are going to offer a payment option every single time you deliver a proposal. And we'll show you in the end why it's critical that you do that. You want to give the customer options to consider. And the reason why you want to give them options to consider is because it shifts the focus from should I buy to which option is best for me. And when they choose an option, they're subsequently starting that process of making a decision. The other thing that I want you guys to consider is this, from the standpoint of providing financing on every project, is if I go into the, Best Buy to buy a Blu-ray player and I've got $300 cash in my pocket, and the Best Buy salesperson says to me, hey, do you want to put that on your Best Buy card? No interest until 2025. I mean, how many people do you think, myself included, that are going to say, well, I'll use your money for the next 3 years. It's still $300, but I'll use your money and I'm going to keep my $300 and do something else with it. That's the strategy that you're trying to use, even for customers who have the funds to pay for this. They'll use that money to pay down the principal on their mortgage, take the family on vacation, or in today's, crisis world, they can use that to maybe offset the economic concerns that they have. And we'll talk a little bit about a stimulus package idea that you can offer in the end. Think about this also. We live in a finance world. I mean, I went online yesterday to try to research to see if I could find a car ad anywhere that would tell me what the actual price of the vehicle was. You really don't see that. That doesn't draw people in. Hey, you can get this GMC Sierra Denali edition for $71,000. I mean, people aren't looking at that and going, whoa, only $71,000? We live in a finance world. Everything we buy is financed today. Okay, and then look, and I know some of you guys are really proud of the fact that you don't believe in credit. And I run into contractors all the time that say, I don't use credit. Everything for me is cash. And I say, that is awesome. But you've got a lot of customers, and I just showed you a statistic, 75% of whom are using financing. And if you're not, you're really not a viable option for that 75% of the market. So let's talk about how financing helps to reduce sticker shock from clients who have unrealistic price expectations. And I think it's reasonable to suggest that many of our customers do have unrealistic expectations of what the project costs. In those particular scenarios, do you think that it's better that we present the customer with a cash price of, that's a typo. It's not a cash price of $1,600 because many of them would probably take that. But do you think it's better to give them a cash price of $11,600, or do you think it's better to give them a cash price of $189 a month? And one other thing I want you guys to think about, and this sort of dives a little bit into the advanced selling strategy webinar that we're going to do next week. Your first impressions form a bias, okay? And one of the things that we need to start thinking about is price conditioning, and how do we anchor our customers to a more realistic price expectations. And one of the things that I would encourage you to do is early on in the process, set a more realistic price expectation by showing them examples of other projects you've done and then listing the actual price of those projects in those materials. Look, the term anchoring is a cognitive bias that describes the tendency for us to rely too heavily on the first piece of information that we receive. What happens is we see that price of $13,000 and we literally become anchored to that price, and then we base all of our decisions around that price. So what we're really talking about here is if I have a customer that expects that the job's going to cost $7,000, and I'm showing them examples early on in the process of projects that I've done that cost $14,264. Now that does create some anxiety, right? But we're very early on in the process. But I'm also anchoring them, which gives the prospect the frame of reference to value the entire project. Then we get into our product presentation stage and we start to encourage them to make product choices where they're, increasing the perceived value of the project, and in their mind, the cost of the project is going up. And then we ask them in the end, hey, based on what we've talked about and all the choices that we've made on your home, if you had to guess, what do you think the project's going to cost? And now, based on that $14,000 anchor and the fact that they've added all this other stuff into their project, they might come to you and say $16,000, $17,000. And then when you drop them your price, there's a bit of a relief. right? And it's sort of like, wow, that's a pretty good deal. But think about what happens when they also see this. You've completely taken away that sticker shock, okay? And we're going to talk about that again when I show you guys how to actually present your proposal. The other thing that I want you to think about is that financing helps the prospect buy better. I mean, some of you guys do a really good job selling the, enhanced warranty programs that the shingle manufacturers afford you. And you've got a lot of different components, a lot of different parts and pieces that you're using to help affect not only a better roof system, but a better warranty. And then you have the cost of those warranties. In this particular example, I've used interest rates and terms to actually make the better product option less expensive than the good. And look, typically when I show people this information, some people will push back and say, John, you're presenting me with a loan option for 120 months on a roof. That's a 10-year loan. Or 144 months. That's a 12-year loan. Do you really recommend we sell roofs with a 12-year loan? And I would defer to Jay on whether or not we see a lot of those, but my answer is always this. I'm going to provide the options to my customer that puts them in the best position to afford me. And if they determine that they want to buy me and they want to pay for my roof for 10 years, that is their decision. Okay? And all I'm there to do is to put a quality roof on their home, provide a quality experience, and do a job that justifies and warrants me getting a lot of referrals and high reviews. So I also think that financing will also help you guys overcome many of the objections that you have with price. And I also think, and we'll show you this when I show you the proposal stuff, that it sets the table for us to ask that, closing question. But I want to give you one example of how, financing can help us with the price objection, right? So let's say you got a customer and you present your price and they say, wow, that's a lot more than I thought it was going to cost. Look, ask them, well, really? Well, how much did you guys think it was going to cost? And they might say, well, I thought this project was going to cost around $6,000. Okay. Then you just say, okay, but I mean, now that you know who we are and how we do things, I mean, can you see why we might be a little bit more expensive than you thought? And they're going to say, yeah, but I mean, you're still a lot of money. And we can then ask, look, I understand, but now that you know what it costs, how long do you think it would take for you guys to come up with the rest of the money? Now, if they tell you, oh man, it's going to take me 3 years to come up with the difference, well, then I just use financing. And again, I'm a big fan of using options. So I might say 3 years. Hey, look, here's what I can do. I can take your $6,000 and I can finance the difference on a 3-year zero interest loan. Or if you want, keep your $6,000. I'll finance the whole project on a 5-year zero interest loan. Which of those two options works best for you? So guys, keys to success in using financing. Number one, just choose a few highly targeted financing plans. And again, I say offer it to every customer and every project, every proposal, every single time. So some examples that you might want to include, some people are interested in the zero interest, zero payment loans. Some people are interested in the fixed rate, low APR loans. I'm a huge fan of that 60-month zero interest with payment loan, and I'm going to talk to you in a few minutes why I think that is a must-have for every single contractor. But the other thing that we need to keep in mind is once I've identified what those loans are that I want to run with, and Jay and I can certainly help you guys identify which ones are best for you and your market. Because I think typically you'll see that contractors tend to, around the country, all pretty much offer the same, 5 to 8 loans. But once I've identified what those loan types are, I then need to better understand what the merchant fees are that I'm going to be charged from Greensky. What are the merchant fees that I have to pay that, really for the privilege of being able to offer those loans to customers? Now, here's where a lot of contractors struggle. And I got an email yesterday from somebody who said, John, how do you incorporate the fee into the pricing when you don't know which loan the customer is going to want? And that's a really good question. But the thing you need to do is you need to identify the merchant fees and then figure out of all the loans that you're going to offer, which one is the most expensive. That becomes the amount that you build in to, as an overhead expense into every project, every proposal, every time. So if the homeowner in this particular case chooses a 60-month no-interest loan with payments, Greensky is going to take 15.25%, which is probably the highest merchant fee that they charge. And the reason why I like that 60-month no interest is because if you need to go into their app, which is really easy to do, and look for other options because maybe they want the payment to be $211.12, and you're trying to fudge around with the numbers to figure out how you can help them get to something close to that, any loan that you choose is probably going to fall underneath that 15.25% merchant fee. So here's what happens. I've got 15.25% built into my overhead. The customer decides they want that 18-month no interest loan. Well, that's only an 8% merchant fee. So on this particular job, we made an additional 5.25% profit on the project. Okay. Now, I want to, back up, because I think one of the other areas that some people get into trouble is they go in with their retail price of $10,000, and then the homeowner says, well, I want to finance it. And the contractor knows that he's going to get hit with a merchant fee of 10%. So they try to figure out, how do I build the merchant fee into a financed price when I've already quoted them the original price? Guys, I want to be clear, and I mean, you can check with your local people who give you your legal advice, but it's my understanding that it is illegal to tell the customer, I'm going to charge you $10,000, but if you want financing, it's going to cost $11,500. Now, on the flip side, you can tell them our project is $11,500, but if you pay cash, I can do it for $10,000. But you cannot change the price to reflect the cost of financing. So my rule is, just like I'm showing you here in this slide, identify the most expensive option, build that in as an overhead expense into every project, every proposal, every time. And then if the customer chooses to use that particular financing loan, then you're in a position where you've covered your margins on that. Now, I know some people will kind of push back, right, and go, John, you just told me to raise my price 15.25%. Yes, I did. But you've got to understand that you're now offering your price in the form of a payment. And I'm going to show you in a minute that 15.25%, it nets out to an increase of about $20 a month to the customer. Does that make sense? So I'll increase my financed price $20 a month, for the sake of giving them a $211 payment versus asking them to write me a check for $16,000. So one of the things I said earlier, and I keep saying, is make sure you offer monthly payment options on every proposal every single time. And I want to be, clear, guys. People love options. And this is a really ugly slide that I'm showing you here, but it does talk about, that paradox of choice. If you don't offer options, hey, I can do this project for $16,000, that literally is a demotivator for the customer. They don't like the fact that they don't have control. They don't like the fact that they don't have an autonomy and they can't make choices. But on the flip side, if you offer them 16 different options, you're going to confuse them, and they're also going to be demotivated because it's too overwhelming. It's called options overload, and I can't, make a choice, so I'm just going to move on until my mind settles. Now, one word about options. And this dives a little bit into what we're going to talk about when we talk about advanced pricing strategies. Many of us are familiar with, hopefully we're familiar with, the Goldilocks story, right? Goldilocks, in every single situation she found herself, was presented with 3 options, and she always had to choose an option, and her final decision always came down to just right. And the story of Goldilocks really illustrates the fact that the vast majority of buyers tend to choose the option that plays on our desire to avoid extremes. So my vote is that we provide 3 options in terms of financing because we want to help our customers avoid the extreme of paying far too much or paying far too little. And I'll give you an example in a second. But what this really parlays into and speaks to is the Goldilocks effect. And this is a psychological pricing strategy that describes the practice of providing a premium priced product as well as a budget option alongside of a regularly priced product because it makes that regularly priced product seem more appealing. So for those of you who offer like a good, better, best upsell package, this Goldilocks principle is really designed to motivate the customer to buy that middle option. And we'll dive a lot deeper into this when we do our advanced pricing strategies. But I'm just setting the table for how we're going to present the financing options in a minute. So for those of us who like to drink, red wine, we might walk into a liquor store and we see these 3 options. And you've got some extremes here. You've got the Camus, that's a really expensive, really nice bottle for $135. And the other extreme is you've got a really crappy Sutter Home bottle of wine for $9.99. So in our psychological aversion to avoid extremes, most people will discount the least desirable option and then choose between the remaining two to reflect what's best in their best interest. So if I walk into this situation and say, I can't afford Seamus, I mean, that's ridiculous. I don't need to spend $135. What tends to happen is I'll also say, but I'm not drinking Sutter Home, so it makes the Earthquake a little bit of a better option. On the flip side of that, some people will say, I'm not going to drink that Sutter Home. That stuff's garbage. But I also can't justify $135, so I'm going to choose the $37 bottle of wine in the Earthquake. We're trying to help customers avoid satisfy their need to avoid extremes. And guys, look, if you're interested in learning more, we're going to talk about how to price bundle products in a way that motivates people to buy the middle option. And then we're also going to introduce you to a strategy called decoy pricing that actually shows us how we can use bundled options to motivate people to buy our best option. Okay, and it's really powerful. It's a behavioral economics. It's psychological pricing. It's really cool. If you scan that code, it'll allow you guys to register for the webinar. And you can also find this on our SRS distribution website. Go to the COVID-19 landing page, click on the webinars, and you'll see it listed there, and you can register. So guys, getting back to offering financing on every project, every proposal, every time, I want to be clear. And first, I want to make sure another little psychological pricing strategy is you need to be extremely precise with your large numbers. If you provide a price of $11,000 even, nobody's going to believe that with all the products and all the things that you're putting into their project, that it just so happened to land perfectly on that number. They're going to think that you rounded up. And even in the event, by the grace of God, that you were able to come up with $11,000 even, I'd still encourage you guys to change that just to make it seem like it's priced to the penny. But when you provide this type of proposal, I would strongly encourage you guys to put your payment options on the same sheet of paper at the same exact time. Guys, it's been proven that when people see this type of a price sheet, they will look at that $10,697 retail price, but they will study the three payment options to see which of those options fits best within their budget. And I want you, again, to think about the reason why we're providing choices is because rather than them deciding, do I want to buy or do I not want to buy, now they're having a conversation with themselves about which is the best option for me. And when they choose that option, it moves them ever closer to choosing you as their contractor. So they might look at that $11,000 price and then they'll study the options and they'll say, man, I don't want to be in a 120-month loan. But that $156 a month, we could definitely make that happen. For $22 more a month, is it worth it for me to have a 60-month loan with zero interest? And the conversation that they're having is they're debating on whether or not they want to spend $20 more to have a 60-month zero interest loan. And while they're having that conversation with themselves, they're not trying to figure out whether or not they should continue shopping because they're freaked out by that $11,000 price. And guys, the other reason why I want you to get into the habit of providing this on the same sheet of paper at the same time is because if you don't provide the payment options, they study that $11,000 price, and then they start to think for themselves, should I keep shopping? Is this a good decision? Do I really know enough? We want to walk them right into those payments. And one of the things I would suggest is very easily sets the table for you to ask a closing question. And if I presented these options to the customer, I would give them maybe a few seconds to kind of look at it, and I would ask the question, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, look, whether you decide to do business with me or not, would you at least agree that the roof we're putting on your home is worth $129 a month? Now, assuming they say, oh, yeah, it's definitely worth $129 a month, we then move them into the contract. Well, all I need you to do is authorize this agreement, and we'll get started tomorrow pulling your permits. Or all we need to do is just have you type in some information into the Greensky credit application, and we'll get you approved and get your project started. Now, here's the thing I want to revisit with you guys. If I'm not offering financing on this project, my actual retail price is going to be $9,281. But now what I'm doing is I'm looking at and considering all the merchant fees that I'm being charged for these different loan types. And that 60-month zero interest is a 15.25% merchant fee. So I'm going to add 15.25% to my overhead, and that's going to give me an adjusted finance price of $10,697. Now, again, getting back to you guys who are just uncomfortable with the fact that now you're raising my price 15%, yes, we are increasing the total cost of the proposal $1,400, but from the customer's perspective, that's anywhere from $16 to $23 a month, depending on the loan that they choose. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I went into Lowe's recently. I had to buy a water heater, and when I got to the checkout, I had my $700 water heater, and they gave me 3 options. Hey, do you want to put this on your Lowe's charge? You can take a 5% cash discount or take advantage of our 6-month or 84-month financing. Now, luckily, I had the cash, but I looked at that and I said, man, I'm going to take the 5% on the credit card and I'm going to pay it off the next month. And that cut into, the 9% plus tax that I pay here in New York State. So it was kind of a help. But look at that option. How powerful is that? Is that something that a roofing contractor could offer? And I say yes. Guys, I would assert that you could offer your customers a 10% discount for cash or one of 2 different payment options. So when you're presenting your price, you could say the retail price is $12,472, and Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, we've got a couple of options for you. We can either take a 10% discount for cash, or if you want to take advantage of our financing options, we can do a 36-month for $346 or a 60-month for $207. Which of those options works best for you? Now, some people are going to say, I can't afford the cash discount. Which of those 2 options am I most comfortable with? Some people might say, and I want you to be prepared for this, some people might say, well, I want to take advantage of your cash discount. Can I put it on a credit card? Guys, you got to understand that your you're going to be charged a credit card fee for processing. And I'm hoping that much like I'm showing you and encouraging you to do today with your financing, that you're burdening the cost of your overhead, with the cost of that credit card processing. I usually say you should budget around 3%. It's going to be anywhere from 3 to 5%. Some people use credit cards, some don't. If you charge the 3% on every project, odds are you're going to kind of net out in the end, and your P&L at the end of the year will be able to help let you know whether or not you budgeted that properly. Now, for you storm restoration contractors, I mentioned the idea of financing the deductible, and a lot of storm guys will push back and say, wait a minute, John, I got a tough enough time getting paid from the insurance company as it is, and now you're telling me to eat the cost. They're never going to pay me for the merchant fees. Am I just supposed to eat that cost? Well, look at this loan option that Greensky offers here, 6-month zero interest with payments. It's a whopping 1.5% merchant fee. Now, I don't want to speak for you and your profitability, but if I was a roofing contractor and I had the opportunity or was told, hey, John, would you eat 1.5% of the deductible to collect the deductible every time and not have to chase it down? I probably would agree to do that. I think that's a pretty sound business decision. You guys would have to determine what the right, tipping point is, and then what loan options you can offer that kind of fit within that. So now when the customer says to you, hey, can you waive the deductible like the other guy, you say, hey, look, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, if you're asking me to help you guys break the law, I'm afraid that maybe, we're not the right contractor for you. We've got a solid reputation for quality and integrity, and we're not willing to really do that for anybody. What I could do is I can, offer you a couple different financing options so you could pay that deductible off over the next, several months. Would that be a good option for you? Think about financing on upselling an insurance job, right? And I love the idea of upselling an insurance job and financing it because the deductible then becomes buried in the financed amount. So in this particular case, we've upsold the customer to a $12,000 roof. They're going to apply their $7,400 insurance check towards that. We're going to finance the balance on a 36-month loan for $139 a month. Or I can give them the option of keeping that insurance check, and I finance the entire amount for a $207 a month payment. Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, which of those 2 options works best for you? One thing I want the business owners to be aware of is that you may get some pushback from your salespeople based on commissions, right? Because some of our salespeople are paid on gross margin. Because you are offering financing and you're now adding the cost of the merchant fee into your overhead, you're going to find that your margin is going to suffer. You're going to make the same dollars, but your margin is going to suffer. So in the actual retail price example, the project is priced at $92.81. My gross profit is $4,600, and I made a 50% margin. But because the profit is expressed as a percentage of the actual price it's sold for, now I'm basing that on the adjusted finance price of $10,697, and I've lowered my margin by 6.6%. You may have some sales reps who might say to you, dude, you're killing me, man. I'm losing money by offering financing. Look, I would argue, and I'll make the call for you if you want me to, I would argue that their opportunities are now endless. They have endless possibilities because of financing. And I would also ask them to consider that the jobs that are not being financed, they're now making an extra 6.6% in margin. Okay? So let's talk a little bit about this stimulus package. And when I did our sales tips webinar over the course of the past, week and a half, we talked about, providing and trying to take away the objections about the uncertainty of the current economic conditions. You're going to have customers that are going to want to get their project done, but they're concerned about how long is this thing going to last? What if we lose our jobs? What if we can't pay for this? So you're going to want to sort of have something in your back pocket to help them with. And I also want you to just make sure that you leverage the fact that everybody, even those people that are in extreme panic mode in light of what's happening, we all know that this will end, right? The question is when is it going to happen? So I want to, Jay, I see you muted yourself. I'm going to give you a chance to kind of unmute yourself. But I'm going to have Jay just kind of jump in and talk real quick about two things. Greensky just came out with a really aggressive different loan options that are available for you guys to provide. And they've also, tweaked the process to allow you guys to secure your payment without you having to be, live with that customer. So Jay, why don't you tell them a little about this?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, John. So as you guys can see on this slide, there are actually 4 new plans that Greensky has introduced into the market through the SRS sponsor program. So if you sign up under the SRS program, you are going to be eligible to use all 4 of these plans. These plans are literally brand new. They came out last Friday. They've been in the market for less than a week now, and we have gotten nothing but amazing feedback for a number of reasons. And these are handpicked, created specifically for the economic environment that we're in right now. The idea is to allow customers to, one, not really have to make any payments for the next few months. As you can see, we've got 2 types of promotions associated with these. 6-month no interest, no payments, and 12-month no interest and no payments. The idea is that if the customer wants to go ahead and get a project done now, which a lot of people do, they're at home, they can do so. And you can offer them 6 or 12 months to hold on to their cash and pay it all off, pay off the entire project at the end of the 6 or 12 months at 0% interest. For those customers that are looking for a little bit longer to pay off their loan, we have introduced a very, very low interest rate to both of these plan options. The 6-month will have a 5.99% plan and a 9.99% plan. The difference in cost is minimal. So essentially, you'll be able to choose which one you want to offer. Of course, the 9.99% plan is less expensive than the 5.99. And if you want a longer-term promotion, you can do the same exact thing with the 12-month. So I know you guys will have some questions, and I'll cover these a little bit in more detail once we actually have your application in. You're going to be paired up with a consultant. They're going to help you introduce these plans into your sales strategy as they're brand new plans. So if you have any questions about them, feel free to type that into the chat box, and I'll answer those for you. I'm going to go on to the next topic and talk about how we're helping help you guys and your customers really be able to close deals now without having to be face-to-face constantly. We're trying to minimize the amount of face-to-face interaction that needs to happen to have a customer approve for financing and you to transact on your loans. So we have introduced a new process called customer transaction authorization, essentially. Your customer will no longer be required to sign any paperwork through Greensky. Of course, you guys may have your own sales receipts, which we still encourage. A lot of you guys may be using DocuSign or electronic signatures. So if you're doing that, that's absolutely great. Just know that we will no longer require any paperwork to be signed. Everything can be done electronically. So this new process will allow you guys to log into your Greensky account, find the customer that you're looking to run a transaction for, if that's your 20% deposit or if it's your 80% remaining balance upon completion of the customer's project. All you got to do is log into your Greensky account, find the customer's name, type the customer's name in, how much you want to transact. It's going to send them an email and a text message. Are you sure you can allow Jay's Roofing to transact $3,000 on your account? The customer will respond yes via email or text. You will then have that money deposited into your bank account. So no paperwork whatsoever required. And again, you will see this in action if you decide to come on board. You'll have a consultant paired with you that'll show you exactly how to log into that portal, show you how to run that transaction. They'll show you how it actually looks on the customer's end when they receive that email and text message. But it's incredible because historically we would require a certificate of completion or a borrower's payment certificate to be signed to allow for that transaction, initial deposit and remaining balance upon completion of the project.
Excellent stuff. And by the way, it looks like Jay has been diligently answering a lot of your questions. So I even greater degree of appreciation for him right now. Eric asked the question about if you're already a Greensky customer, do you still qualify for the promo? And I think the answer is obviously yes, right?
Yeah, and that's a great question. So if you are already a Greensky customer, reach out to your CGM or consultant, and they can provide some more just details on the plans. But yes, you are eligible to receive these plans.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys can see this too, and I usually don't like to, dive too deep into the comments, but Brian makes a comment here, outside of telling me that I'm speaking fire, which I think hopefully is a compliment. But he says that he's been using Greensky since day one. Homeowners don't even flinch with the difference in the fees. 85% of revenue is financed, even with people that tell him they're paying cash. And that's really important, guys, because I get into these, I don't want to say debates because I don't want to ever suggest that I'm debating with any one of you. But a lot of people think, my customers don't want financing. I ask them, they say they don't need it. Or I ask them, how are you planning to pay for this? And they say, we're going to pay cash. Something really interesting happens when you put a payment in front of them, and all they're trying to figure out is, man, that works in our budget. And even if they do have the cash, which I think, to Brian's point, maybe some people are going to say that just to kind of blow it off. Even if they do have the cash, I would suggest to you that it's unreasonable to assume that they want to use it. So when it comes to getting started with Greensky, I just want to give you guys an overview of the process, and also let you know that we'll follow up in an email to you guys with some of this information, particularly the link that you need to apply. A couple of the minimum requirements, and Jay, correct me if I'm wrong, but we want to make sure that you guys don't have any felonies. You need to have a good credit score, and we want to make sure that you're verifiably have been in business for at least 2 years. And I know that we have had cases where contractors are like, well, I've been in business for 5 years. I used to have a partner, and then I went into my own business. In some of those situations, we can, Greensky's been able to kind of make some things happen for you as well. So I think you guys are just looking for a track record, right?
That's correct.
So as far as getting started is concerned, there's an email link, and again, that would be sent out to you probably tomorrow. Greensky.com/sponsor/SRS distribution. You're going to enter in the sponsor number 757, and then they'll walk you through that process, which really takes a couple of days to get you involved. And then once that happens, Greensky will be really quick to set an enrollment date or set a date to train you guys and get you guys on board. I will tell you, personally speaking, one of the most frustrating things that I see, and I know we all get busy, is guys usually are really well-intentioned. They go through the process, and then I find out from Greensky, well, I just can't get them on the phone to kind of take that final step. Hopefully now, I mean, regrettably now, many of us have, some more time to really see this thing through. And I want to make sure that I make myself available to all of you guys in the event that you want to revisit some of this information or you want me to help you put your strategy together. Guys, I said this with many of the webinars that we've done, and I think I believe I speak for the entire team at SRS Distribution when I say that we're all in this together, and if we work together, we believe that we can come out of this stronger than we ever were before. Please take advantage of our COVID-19 website landing page, and again, here's just a list of some of the webinar topics that we're going to be making available. Advanced pricing strategy, I talked a little bit about that today. I've got Jeff Wisniewski from Giddy Up, who's going to talk about Magic Bullet to scaling your business. Really, really smart guy that's going to bring to light some of the things that he's seen with some of his bigger contractors that he works with. What are the things that they're doing that really allowed them to take their business to that next level? We're going to do a company story workshop where I'm going to provide you guys with some homework and help you guys start to build that virtual sales presentation that you can use to really position yourself as a contractor of choice. We've got that training coaching topic designed really for managers and owners to help you guys create a coaching culture and to be, better positioned to set clear expectations and hold your salespeople accountable. We'll dive into the Stormer selling process and show you guys how we can use some retail elements to be more effective in an insurance setting. And then we've got digital door knocking, which is a revolutionary, I wrote in the description, warning, be prepared to have your entire mindset changed. Really, really powerful tool that's available to you. And I will also just say one other thing. Please keep your email out, your eyes open we're sending an email out this week. We've got Vice President of Government Affairs from the NRCA who's going to do a town hall for all of you that's going to make you guys completely aware of everything that's happening in the CARES Act and all of the funding and stimulus packages that are available through the Small Business Association so that you guys really make sure that you have all the knowledge and can take full benefit of all the different programs that are available to you. While I put my contact information up here and encourage you guys to please utilize me as a resource, I just want to make sure that we look through some of these questions, Jay, and what's the lowest credit score you accept from a potential, homeowner?
Yeah, that's a great question. And at Greensky, we've got our own algorithm credit policy that we have in place. So it's not necessarily a minimum FICO score. However, if you want an idea of kind of where we want it to be, I would say around the lowest we would go is in the 600 credit score range. However, we look at other factors like debt to income, bankruptcy score, overall income, co-applicants, no co-applicants, etc.
And somebody asked, I think Eric said, can we get a spreadsheet that automatically calculates the financing cost based on the plan? Eric, yeah. If you're asking about the merchant fee that you're being charged, then yeah, when you go through your onboarding process, they're going to give them a rate sheet, right, Jay?
Yeah, absolutely. So you'll have access to all of the plans that we have available to you through this program, the SRS program, including these new 4 plans. So you'll see the cost of each individual plan. We've got at this point, we've probably got over 35 plans, John, that they'll be able to choose from. Everything from 6 months of no interest to 60 months of no interest, and plans that can extend up to 12 years. So really get that monthly payment down low.
Yeah. And Jay, I'll tell you that everybody, that's one of the reasons why I really like Greensky. I think they've got a lot of options for you to play with. So odds are you're going to be able to find something that allows your customer to, allows you to be affordable for your customer. Jay, question came up of do we know what the company's credit score needs to be for them to be approved? Because you said, good credit to be an approved dealer.
In terms of commercial credit, that's really a underwriting requirement. I don't know the exact answer to that question. However, if they have issues with that, normally they would reach out to you directly and ask you to provide additional documentation. that's something that I rarely see a decline for. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly, and we can talk through that and maybe include underwriting.
Great. And everyone keeps asking, is this recorded? Yes, we're recording this because I over the course of the past week, have really begun to hate my own voice. But we're going to record this, and we'll send links out to everybody so you can get this not only in the form of the actual video, but there'll be an audio sort of like podcast file for you guys as well. Bree asks the question, how are payments to the contractor made?
Payments to the contractors are made directly, essentially the same way that if you were to swipe a credit card or plug a credit card number into your merchant processor. So you would get your payment instantly, just like you would if the customer paid with a credit card.
Yep. And
I saw a question from Randy. His question is saying, if Greensky is charging the customer fees, I'm assuming interest rates, then why are there merchant fees associated with the loans? That's a great question, Randy. And the answer to your question is essentially the fact that we've got so many different types of plans. Some of our plans are very, very, very low cost because we are charging the majority of the interest to the customer. The idea is we don't really want to charge them too much interest to make the offering attractive, right? We want them to be able to close the deal with you, so we want to offer them a really attractive plan, which allows you to subsidize a small percentage of that. On the other side, we've also got really, really attractive plans like John mentioned, like a 60-month no-interest plan, where Greensky would actually be making no money on the customer's end. So there is no interest rate on some of our no-interest plans. So that is why there is a merchant fee tied to those specific plans. Great question, though. And saw a question from Michael. Is there financing available for commercial customers? I saw this one come up a couple times. Mm-hmm. So that is also a really, really good question. I hear that all the time. The good thing about Greensky is that the work does not have to be performed at their primary residence. We have many, many contractors doing work at vacation properties, rental properties, small businesses. So essentially the answer to that question is sure. If they're okay with using their personal credit to apply and to hold a loan under, then yeah, the work can be performed anywhere.
Yeah. But there is also a thing too that it doesn't have to be performed on the primary residence too. So you could have multiple properties. You could have a customer that applies for the loan, and then they can use it on their residence, their lake house, their beach house, or however they want to kind of use that stuff. Guys, I'll just tell you, I mean, before we wrap this thing up, one of the other things that's really often understated, I like Greensky, as I said. I think very easy process for you and the homeowner. Number two, I love the fact that they max approve people. I mean, the homeowner, you might be looking for $12,000 to fund the roof, but if the homeowner is worthy of the credit, they'll max them up to $6,500. That gives you an opportunity to really introduce them to better options, better warranties, better products. I love that button that you can put on your website, and I think that's something that's probably underutilized. I would encourage you guys to put something on your website. It's a call to action that says, click here to learn more about financing options. I'm also a big fan of sending a profile picture out to the homeowner with a little bit of information about the sales rep they're going to be meeting with. They get to learn something about that salesperson. They see what they look like, a little bit about them, and it makes them more comfortable when they open the door. There's a little bit of familiarity and comfort with that. In that profile, encourage them, click here to learn a little bit more about our financing options. The cool thing is, if you log into your portal that Greensky will give you, you can see who's applying, who's clicking, and what the status is of those applications. And then the other thing that Greensky does, and we really didn't even talk about it, Jay, is you guys do provide different marketing collateral that the contractor can use. You could put your logo on Greensky literature that you can leave with the homeowner so they can really better appreciate what it is that you're offering them. There's a landing page that gets set up where they click on it, your logo is on it. So it's really unto you. And then the good thing is any customer that you get on board with Greensky applies for a Greensky loan with your company, that is money that they can only spend with you. So it's a pretty good way to try to secure that homeowner. So I don't see that there's really been any more questions. I know we've got a little bit over time, but Guys, I want to thank you all for participating in this webinar. You've got my contact information here. Feel free to email me if you have any questions. Look forward to that email that we're going to send so you could, take advantage of the applying for Greensky if that's something that you're interested in. If you have any more questions about getting this thing started, make sure you go to our COVID-19 landing page, register for some more of these webinars, and best of luck to you guys. Stay healthy, and thanks for participating.